The seafarer leads an extraordinary life, but what no one seems to be talking about is what happens when you spend half your life at sea, what that does to your mental health. What's going on, guys? I'm Joe Franta. Welcome to the channel. On this channel, we talk about everything U.S. merchant mariner, working on cargo ships, things like that. So if you're interested in something like that, please be sure to subscribe. It really helps the channel. So in this video, we're going to be talking about something that isn't really talked about too often, and that's mental health, particularly with seafarers. So let's get into it. Seafarers have many traditions, and most are good traditions. Whether that be some ceremony for crossing an imaginary line, some kind of tattoo, or maybe just a goofy superstition. But there's one tradition that's rather sad. If a seafarer decides to take his own life, most of the time he'll just jump overboard. But before he does, he'll take off his boots and leave them by the railing to let his shipmates know when he doesn't show up for morning muster where he went and to stop looking for him. There's a lot I love about being a merchant mariner, but the job can be pretty tough and it can feel isolated and lonely, especially when you have problems going on back home. I've been on ships before where I had personal things going on back home, and little things back home can turn into big things on ships. And even though you have your shipmates and your crew around you, sometimes the last thing you want is to tell them your personal problems back home. And that's why therapy can be a great tool to help a sailor or anyone that's going through something that feels like they don't have anyone they can talk to. And that's the reason why I'm proud to say that BetterHelp sponsored this video. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist to give you helpful, non-biased advice. So if you go to betterhelp.com/JoeFranta, answer a few questions, they'll usually match you with a therapist in the first 48 hours so you can get started fast. And you can do it all from your phone or your computer, via phone call, video chat, or messaging. So whatever's most comfortable for you. BetterHelp will match you with a licensed professional with years of experience helping people with struggles like yours. Click on the link in the description to get started and get the help that you deserve. Working in the maritime as a seafarer is a great life. It's a very unique job filled with all kinds of amazing experiences. But those experiences can come with a price. A study of 1% of all U.S. seafarers holding United States Coast Guard credentials showed 21% had a high score for depression, 23% had a high score for anxiety, 9% had suicidal thoughts, 38% had high scores indicating elevated stress, and 18% indicated PTSD. It's important to mention that the U.S. is only about 2.5% of the world's merchant fleet, meaning the majority of seafarers are from other countries. Another survey of over 1,200 global seafarers showed 25% of the seafarers had a high score of depression, 17% had a high score for anxiety, and 20% had suicidal thoughts. You know, sailing gets to you after a while. Every job has its problems. I'm not trying to knock on any other industries, I'm just trying to shine light on mine. I believe there are several factors that strongly impact a sailor's mental health. Some things that come to mind are no days off, long hours and irregular sleep, problems back home, poor living conditions, toxic crew, getting burned out, getting stuck on a ship, and overall ship's morale. So let's take a closer look at each one and figure out how they negatively impact a sailor's mental health. No days off. Clearly, when you sign on a ship, you're not expecting it to be a cruise and not do anything. You're there and you're there to work. However, working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, does start to get to you after a while. Long hours and irregular sleep patterns. Ships never sleep, and because the ship never stops, that means the crew never stops. Especially if you're standing on watch. Chances are you're going to have a watch in the middle of the night. And if there's some kind of all-hands operation happening, you're going to have to get up for it. Whether that be arriving at a port, leaving a port, or maybe some kind of cargo operation. Regardless if it's your time off or not, all hands is all hands. Sleep deprivation can really impact your mental health. It can affect your problem-solving skills. You're going to have a hard time making decisions and controlling your emotion and your behavior. Problems back home, and when you're stuck out at sea, little problems back home turn into big problems. You know, I tell my family that if something bad happens and I'm out at sea, I ask them, please don't tell me. I don't want to know, because if I'm out at sea and it's a couple-week transit and they tell me that, God forbid, someone I care about passed away, there is literally nothing I can do while I'm out at sea. I am just stuck there in my head with those thoughts of that person, and I can't go anywhere. I still have to work 12 hours every day, 7 days a week, with just the thought of what's happening back home. Poor living conditions. Poor living conditions is kind of a vague term. A lot of things can fall under poor living conditions. Like I said, the accommodations and your room, the whole boat could be kind of aged and dirty. The ship could run into a storm and the ship can roll all night and you're not able to get a good night's sleep. Or maybe the ship runs out of food and you're not getting the proper nutrition. All this stuff can really affect your mental well-being, especially because you're stuck on the ship and the circumstances are what they are and there's nothing you can do about it. This is your home. Toxic crew members. So if you're on a land-based job and you're working with somebody who's kind of negative and toxic, when you go home, you don't have to see them usually. But that's not the case on a ship. On a ship, if you're dealing with someone who's toxic, likes to start drama, complains about everything, and is just overall pretty negative, you can't escape that on a ship. You're working next to them, you're eating next to them, maybe even you're sharing a room. And if you can't escape that energy, it definitely takes a toll on you and the whole crew. Becoming burned out for staying on a ship for too long. The first 30 days are usually pretty exciting and go by pretty quick. New ship, you're just getting back to work after being sitting at home for a while, so it's new environment, it's good to be back, getting in the swing of things. First 30 days, no problem. From 30 to 60 days, you're in the routine. You're in, okay, this is what it is, I'm doing it, it's just another day. It's the routine now. Then after 60 to 90, it's like, okay, you start counting the days and getting anxious to go home. Then after 90 days, you start getting a little more irritable. People just get on your nerves more. It's past 120, past 4 months. I am spent. After 4 months, I am ready to go home. And this kind of brings me to my next point, getting stuck on a ship. If you're ready to go home and you're looking forward to getting off the ship, you're counting your days, and all of a sudden your relief cancels on you, or the ship can't find you a relief and you get stuck on board, that is the worst, most helpless feeling, because there's no end in sight. And as far as you know, you don't know when you're going to get off. Those are just some of the things that a sailor might have to deal with on a daily basis. You kind of just roll with the punches and deal with it as it comes to you. As we say in the industry, it is what it is. You know, when I first started sailing, I used to take things pretty personally. But the longer I sail, the more I realize that you never know what a guy is going through. And a lot of guys keep things in. They don't tell you things, and you have no idea. Maybe at his lunch break, he got a phone call that his girlfriend was cheating on him, or his mother passed away. I was on a ship one time and working with a guy, an older guy, never changed his attitude, never changed his demeanor. One day we were talking and came up in conversation. He's like, oh yeah, my mother just died. I was like, oh, when'd your mother pass? And he said, last week. And we were on the ship together for like 2-3 months. And his mother died, didn't say anything to anybody, and just kept working. You never know the news somebody just got. So if you see somebody having a bad day or they're short, just give them their space. You know, don't take it personally. There are a lot of things that are out of the sailor's control. And like I said, it is what it is. However, there are plenty of coping strategies in place to help your mental health and help deal with those things that really weigh on you after a while. One study found that some coping strategies for sailors are a healthy diet, being organized, physical wellness, communicating with your family, listening to music, leisure activities, and social wellness. Keeping in touch with your family is important. Nowadays, most ships have Wi-Fi, and if they don't have Wi-Fi, there's usually a lounge where there's a couple crew computers that you could use, and a satellite phone where you can buy minutes to call back home. And sometimes just talking to a loved one goes a long way when you're on a ship. It's no secret that staying in shape and working out is one of the best things you can do for your mental well-being. Every ship I've ever been on had some sort of gym. Sometimes they weren't the best gyms, but they all had either a treadmill or a couple free weights or something where you can work out. And if you don't want to work out in a gym, just work out in your room, do some push-ups. Exercise is one of the best things for your mental health. Sometimes you don't have the energy to make your bed and clean your room, but there's something to be said about, after a long, shitty day at work, coming back to a clean quarters and a made bed. It just makes a rough day a little more tolerable.
Yeah, this is the digs.
You know, a healthy diet is one of the hardest things to maintain on a ship if they run out of food or the steward's kind of crappy. However, there are some things you can do to maintain a good diet. Most ships nowadays have refrigerators in all the rooms. So if you have the opportunity, you're in port, go to a store, pick up some things, and just keep them in your room. try to make the best of it. Sometimes after working all day, the last thing you want to do is hang out with the crew. But if you're having a crappy day, just hanging out with the guys, playing cards, playing video games, just shooting the shit, that kind of stuff goes a long way and kind of makes you feel like a human again.
Little Mac back.
Every time I've ever done that, I forced myself out of my room. I've never regretted it. It's always been fun and always makes me feel better. Something as simple as just listening to music can really get you out of your own head and put your mind at ease. Every ship's different. Some ships have no music policies, or the captain doesn't want you to have music. And I understand that for working on the bridge. But if you're doing maintenance and you're wearing hearing protection anyway, hopefully you'll be allowed to listen to music and take your mind off of things. Some of the best ships that I've worked on, the captain and companies, they're aware of sailors' mental health, and they do what they can for the ship's morale and the sailors' well-being. Some ships do something called Sundays at Sea. And Sundays at Sea are essentially guys get a half day on Sunday. And you can spend that half day however you please. If you want to hang out with the crew or just hang out in your room and watch a movie or do absolutely nothing, talk to family, Sundays at Sea are however you want to spend them. And just to have that one day where you can turn your mind off and don't have to worry about work, or you don't have to see people, and you can just be in your room, that goes such a long way. It's little things like that that really help. Another thing ships do to kind of boost morale is on occasion we'll have barbecues, or maybe a holiday or Christmas party, get together for a Super Bowl, or have weekly football pools. Little things like that that bring the crew together, they go such a long way. There's also something called the STCW work rest hours. And essentially what it is it's a log to track sailors' work hours. Every sailor within 24 hours must have 1 6-hour unbroken rest period. This really helps a sailor get the necessary sleep and prevents them from overworking themselves, which is a very common thing on ships. Being a seafarer is a great life. It's a rewarding career filled with unforgettable experiences. However, that all comes with a cost. Life at sea can really take a toll on a sailor's mental health. That's why it's so very important to take care of yourself, especially your mental well-being. Just keep in mind that you never know what people are going through, and little things go a long way while you're out at sea. A little text message, just checking up on them or asking how they're doing, or cooking good food for the stewards, or a captain that appreciates ship's morale and cares about his crew. That stuff goes a very long way in a job that's physically and mentally hard enough. So every little bit helps. This video was important to me. It's something that has to be brought up and have a conversation about, but it's one of those things where nobody ever wants to do it. And having this platform, I think it's important to use it to shine light on things that people don't want to shine light on. Thank you again for those who stuck around for the whole thing. Thank you. Thank BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. Check out betterhelp.com/Joe Franta. And a big thank you to Noel for being the toxic crew member. He is far from a toxic crew member. Noel's my brother. Be sure to thank him. Check him out on Instagram. Thanks again, Noel. If you're interested in following up on any of the information I referenced in this video, all the links to the articles will be in the description. Yeah, thanks for sticking around for the whole thing. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. If you enjoyed the video and you'd like to support the channel, please consider liking, subscribing, or sharing the video. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.